everyone. Nice to see you all. My name is Otegha, and I'm the founder of Women Who, which is a platform for women who do creative work, women work in the creative industries, which I launched last month. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what it is, why I set it up, and how you can get involved if you're a woman. So as I said, it's a London-based platform for creative working women. A little bit about me, my background. I'm a freelance writer and brand consultant. So I started out working in advertising when I left uni. I started working at AMV first of all, and then after that I moved to Vice, which is just up the road, and it has like an in-house creative agency. And both those jobs are fun. Like I enjoyed working in advertising. It's like a sort of quite fun, young industry with lots of interesting challenges and some good perks, but I definitely found myself with itchy feet after a couple of years, and to be honest, I didn't necessarily feel that creatively fulfilled, which isn't a reflection on either of the places I worked. It was just, I wasn't necessarily doing what I wanted to do. So it's fair to say that the inspiration for Women Who definitely came from a period of feeling quite lost career-wise. But a good thing came out of it because I decided to combine the things that I'm most inspired by, which is creativity and women, I'm a huge feminist, and work into a platform that could provide support and inspiration for working women everywhere. So at the end of last year, I went freelance, in part to pursue writing, which is something that I've always really enjoyed but never done professionally. And also to properly give Women Who a go, which is an idea that I've kind of been sitting on for at least a year or two, but I'd never really had the time or, to be perfectly honest, the guts to really go for it. But I did, and it launched last month. My main aims, what is it? I've sort of told you that already, but my main aims really with it are to allow women who I think separately all wake up and have the same thoughts in the morning to just sort of meet each other and collaborate and to share knowledge and ideas, because I think there's a real strength in numbers. Originally, when I first thought of it, it was just going to be a website with me interviewing sort of cool, interesting, creative women that I either knew or admired from afar and just chatting to them about their working strategies and their methods. And it was basically just an excuse for me to buddy up with women that I thought were really cool. But I quickly realized when I talked to friends and just when I looked around how important it is to have like a real life aspect to these sorts of platforms. So I decided to make it very much an online and offline endeavor. But I also want it to be sort of relaxed and fun, like kind of like a third space between work and play. Like I think there are a lot of women's professional groups out there, and I felt like a lot of them are really stuffy and boring and just quite grey. I didn't want that, but I still want things to have a real practical slant, which is why I made this. Just slide further. This is the Little Black Book, which is a career toolkit for working women in the creative industries and beyond. You might have seen it on the It's Nice That website about a month ago. I wrote and self-published this, and I mean, the idea really came about, to be honest, because I was looking for something to commemorate the launch of Women Who, and looking for something that would generate a bit of buzz, a bit of interest, like a bit of PR, because there are a million websites out there and there are a million events out there, and I really wanted to stand out. And I knew I wanted to make a physical item, and a friend suggested I write a book, which is great because I love writing, but he also suggested it quite close to the launch. But it kind of felt like a challenge that I had to rise to. So it was a lot of early mornings and late nights writing this, but I managed to do it. So it's basically just sort of practical and philosophical advice and ideas for working women. It covers everything from sort of how to manage your personal finances to how to network effectively, to where to go to learn new skills. I think it's sort of assumed that once you start working, you don't really need to like train or develop yourself, but I'm a real believer in sort of further education, even within a professional context. So it was written based on my own experiences, based on things that had worked for me, and also things that really hadn't, at times I really messed up. But it also features contributions from a bunch of creative women that I either knew before or I reached out to because I thought they'd have something good to say. My favourite section of the whole book is this one, Money Talks, which is, as you guessed, it's all about money. I think it's really important for women to get clued up on the subject of money within professional context. You hear a lot of stats about the gender sort of pay gap, but you don't really get it accompanied with that much practical advice about what individuals can actually personally do to overcome it. So I wrote this section all about how to negotiate for a pay rise, did a lot of research, spoke to a lot of people, went to a lot of seminars, and also about how to manage your professional finances, especially if, like me, you're self-employed or a freelancer. I think it's really easy for, when you do creative work for a living, to shy away from the commercial and financial aspects of working life, and there's a general reluctance to talk openly about money in professional context, which I think is only exacerbated in the creative industries because there's sometimes a bit of snobbishness about this idea of selling out, whatever that means. I think that's bullshit. I think money management is as much a part of your job as the fun creative side, and making sure that you're properly compensated for the work you do is really, really important if you want to be happy and be able to create more work. So that's why I wrote that chapter. The response to the book was insane. I didn't really expect it, to the point that I had a holiday book the day after it went on sale. These are just a couple of photos I'm going to show you of photos that women have sort of sent me either on Instagram or on Twitter from all over the world. So I did an initial print run of about 250 and it sold out in 2 days, which, like I said, I really wasn't expecting. So these are just some of the photos, and I ended up shipping it sort of all over the world as well, all the way from sort of the US, lots of New York and LA ladies, Madrid, lots of Spanish fans. I couldn't figure out why, but a lot of Spanish women wanted to read this. Poland, just literally all over the world, all over Europe, all over the US, and obviously London and the UK, which was really gratifying. And I really relate to what Eddie was saying earlier about going to the post office. I make 3 trips a week to the post office, and they literally hate seeing me coming, because it's me again with a sort of Dick Whittington bag of books on my shoulder. But it's gratifying to see where in the world is showing interest, and I think that's something that's really cool about doing this all myself, is that I can see that. So these are just a couple of photos, and I finally got my act together last week and restocked, so the book is available for anyone who wants to buy it online on my website. Another really key part of it, as I was saying, is the real life aspect. And like I said, I really wanted to make sure that there was somewhere for women to actually meet face-to-face in real life. So a huge part of Women Who is the events that I have run and I'm continuing to run. So this was part of the launch event, which was hosted at this gorgeous store not far from here called Modern Society, which is so beautiful. And it was a panel discussion about creativity versus commerce, which I picked that topic because I feel like that's one of the key conflicts at the heart of being a working creative, especially in London, which is super expensive, but to be honest, no matter where you live or work. So I just really wanted to talk about that, and I picked, so from the left-hand side, is that mine actually? Left. Is Pilar Peace, who's an art director at Mother Creative Agency, and also writes a really amazing blog about sort of the treatment of women in advertising, both kind of as an industry and also in their portrayal in adverts. Next up is my very good friend, Rosh Matani, who is the founder and creative director of Alighieri Jewelry. It's been featured in everything from Vogue to Harper's Bazaar, and she's just started it all herself and is this one women army. And then the third person on the panel was Lynette Nylander, who is the deputy editor of ID Magazine, which I love. So it was really picking women who operate on sort of a broad range of the spectrum of that creativity versus commerce binary, which it was a really interesting discussion. We talked about sort of everything from the role of social media and the rise of the influencer to the changing meaning of the word commercial within creative circles, and the working models that work for creatives, emerging creatives, and those that really don't. So I'm planning, this is just everyone, there was a lot of these tonight. So I'm planning more events for this autumn. So stay tuned for news about those on the website. And then this is the website I just mentioned. So this is kind of the final piece of the jigsaw. I kind of see this as, I built this myself using Squarespace, but I very much recommend Squarespace, it's really great. I kind of see this as the kind of online hub of Women Who. So it's full of like editorial content, articles that I've written myself. It's kind of like an online version of the book. So I talk about things, sort of essentially advice to help you work better. I see it's sort of like a toolkit or resource for working women, and particularly women who work in creative industries. So I cover stuff like places to work. If you're like me and work from home a lot, you'll know that gets really boring after a while, and it's also quite hard to find sort of decent places that are quiet and have a good supply of, you know, decent, not too expensive coffee. So I cover things like interesting places to work from, how to look after yourself. I think looking after your wellness is really, really important, no matter what line of work you do. So I talk a lot about that. Tips on networking. I think it's really, really important no matter what level of your career you're at to always kind of get out there and get to meet people, especially when you work in the creative industries. And so much of, I think, what you do is quite personality based. And so I talk a lot about that. And I also do interviews with sort of interesting creative women that I know. So on the left is Liv Siddle, who I think used to work here at, I know she used to work here at It's Nice That, and is now the editor of Rough Trade magazine. In the middle is Zing Seng, who is the UK editor of Broadly, which is Vice's female channel, which launched about a year ago. And then on the right is Rosh, who I mentioned before, who's a jewellery designer. And I've got plenty more in the works. I put actually another interview up earlier today with Serena Genn, who is the founder and CEO of Suitcase magazine. So yeah, a question I often get asked, which is baffling to me, but I do, is why women? Why sort of segregate out women into a specific group? And I just say, Women Who is obviously based on my own personal experiences, but I think it's something that needs to be recognised, that being a woman in the workplace, no matter what field you work in, is just a different experience from being a man. It just is. And I really wanted to create a platform that recognised that difference of experience, whatever it entails and however it manifests itself. That's not to say that guys can't come to the events. Lots of my guy friends came to the launch, so, but obviously the primary audience is women. Why now? I think anyone who does creative work or works in creative industries can't fail to have noticed how much they've changed over the past couple of years. I think the way people work is changing. The models that people are using are changing. You know, I think there are people out there rewriting the traditional career paths and just doing really new and interesting stuff. So again, I wanted to build like a platform that was quite forward-facing and really catered to those new models. Entrepreneurship within a creative context is something that I'm really interested in. How do creatives monetize their ideas? I've talked a lot about money, but I do think it's really important because I think there is a tendency to think when you do creative work that because you enjoy doing it, that you almost shouldn't be compensated as fairly as if you were an accountant or a lawyer. And like I said earlier, I think that's serious bullshit. So that's pretty much it. As I said, I've got some events lined up for this autumn. So do go onto the website, it's the middle one, and sign up for the mailing list to find out everything that's coming up, and check out the rest of the website whilst you're at it. And you know, I'm really looking forward to watching this community sort of grow and take shape. The response I've had so far has been insane. So do tell your friends, get in touch if you've got, you know, an interesting idea for an event or a cool venue. I'm always looking for interesting creative spaces to hold events in, so do let me know if you've got one. And yeah, thank you very much for listening to me talk. It's been a real privilege to be invited to speak here tonight because I love It's Nice That. So thank you for listening.